Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I hope that you're well and safe and looking after yourselves. If you're new, my name is Emily and today I want to share with you some new decks in my collection, and I have been picking up some new decks this year. It's all just been very fluid and very organic, but I realised that I've only really had a chance to do a few walkthroughs, and I just thought it would be nice to share some of the decks that are new in my collection that I am about to start working with and that I'm sort of branching out and learning about. So let's just get on into it. I can't really remember an order, so I'm just going to go with the flow. So the first deck is a deck I do have a walkthrough actually of, and this is the Divine Feminine Tarot deck in Nocturnal by Cocarina. And so I shared my walkthrough of this a few weeks ago, and this is just such a stunning deck. I can't remember where I first saw this deck because I know that I had it saved in my favourites and I wanted to pick it up, and then I saw Lisa Papez do a walkthrough and I just pretty much hit go. I hit buy pretty much as I was watching the video, so I didn't need much more convincing. I knew I'd seen it before, I knew I wanted it already, and I was just like, yeah, I need this deck. So I went for it, and it's so beautiful. I love the way it feels. The cardstock is fabulous. I love the way it looks. I think it's really got something special about it. The monochromatic aspect of it. It's very witchy, obviously very divine feminine, so obviously if you're working with those energies then it's a beautiful deck from that perspective. Also looks fantastic, and I do think that they do a really good job of capturing the essence of each card in a really kind of simple way, but still very beautiful and exquisite way. It's very delicate and graceful and sophisticated deck, and that's definitely got appeal for me. The artwork is spectacular. So that is the Divine Feminine Tarot by Cocarina. Next up, a deck I wanted to share in one of my last witchy hauls was this Tarot Sexual Magic, and I ordered it and it took like a month to get here, and in fact I had to actually cancel my original order because it just said it never knew when it was going to arrive, and then reordered it, and then within a week it arrived. So I guess I just got unlucky with a batch or something. This is by Laura Tuan and art by Mario De Luca. Obviously this is a deck that is unsuitable for anyone who's underage, and anyone who's not vibing with this kind of style of tarot deck, then please feel free to look away for about a minute or so and then come back. But this deck is very sexy, sensual. I wanted to pick this up so that I could start basically doing some love and sex readings for other people. So you can see the nature of this deck is very playful, very raunchy, erotic, and it's beautiful. You know, there's a lot of serpentine energy in this deck, I think, obviously. It's very fantasy based. Quite romantic in some of the cards as well as kind of kinky. It's really a sexy deck. I do have some problems with this deck in that there is no diversity in it at all. Essentially it has a lot of very slender, muscular bodies, and everyone is Caucasian in appearance. There is no cultural diversity, there's no age diversity. There's also only representatives of heterosexual sex and heteronormative sex, and I think that that's a shame. It says 2014, I'm not sure if that was the original publishing date of this deck, potentially, but I think that in this day and age there should be more awareness around diversity, considering there hardly are many decks around sex and sex magic. I think that it probably is a niche, but at the same time I think there is space within this area, this niche of tarot, for there to be a deck that is more inclusive and something that sort of reflects the reality of our communities and something that everyone can experience and enjoy. So that's something I'd like to see. Speaking as a cisgender heterosexual woman, I realise I may not have the very best way to express what it is I'm trying to say, or I may not even understand all of the nuances behind these topics. I'm trying to do so with clarity and respect and understanding, and if there is anything that I say that does not come across like that, then please know that is not my intention, and I would love to hear about that and expand upon that. You know, I think this is a topic that's really important and really relevant and really needs to be talked about, and I do feel like there is room for representation within this deck of all kinds of bodies and ages and ethnicities and sexualities as well. I think that there's definitely an opportunity here for there to be more of that, but in terms of the deck being a certain type of deck, this is fun to work with for me. I've enjoyed working with this. I've edged it, as you can see. I also have the Manara Tarot, which I shared in my last haul, which is kind of similar but slightly different, and it's just fun to play with, fun to work with, and I would definitely like to offer this kind of reading in the future. And sex magic is something that I would love to talk more about on my channel, but it is something that obviously it's difficult to talk about on YouTube, but it is something that I'm very interested in and that I enjoy. So I think that this is a whole world to explore, and obviously I have my issues with this deck, and I'm sure other people would probably understand that and resonate with those feelings. I do think it's important to talk about there and discuss, and so I'd love to have that open dialogue. I just ask that it's done with respect to all. I do like the deck, but it's not perfect at all, and there is room for improvement, and I think there is space within the market, within this area, this niche of tarot deck, for a deck that is more inclusive in that way. Next up, I picked up the Heavenly Bodies Astrology deck by Lily Ashwell. I think I saw this on Amazon first, and then the first walkthrough I saw was Bonnie Old Soul Mermaid, and I thought, how beautiful is this deck? And I wasn't sure I should get it because I had some other astrology decks. I read about astrology, I listen to podcasts about astrology, and I study my chart as it relates to the chart of the day. I pull the chart and then read it as we move through the zodiac. But I realised when I was watching Lisa Papez's video how much value this deck actually has, in that it has different cards representing of different things, but the key words kind of go together to create a sentence which will then allow you to interpret a certain planet in a certain sign at a certain time and understand it like that. So you've got different houses, and you've got different planets, and they are just some of the most beautiful illustrations and cards I've ever seen. And then you've got the signs. And you have things like Chiron in the North Node and the South Node and such. And you have different aspects as well. So it can really, really help beginners to acquaint themselves with astrology, and really help you as well month to month if you're working with the moon, the lunar cycles, in terms of each season. Month to month, you can look at the transits that are happening and the different ways that that might impact you just by putting the cards together and writing some notes, and it's a great study deck for that. And it's also so incredibly beautiful. It's on the mass market, it's available very easily. You can purchase it from her website, and you can also purchase it from Amazon, so it's very easily available, and I think it's probably one of the best astrology decks I've ever used and seen, so I would definitely recommend this. So I just had to step away for a bit, and it's really cold now, so I put on a little jumper, so that's why I look different. But continuing on, I absolutely love the Pre-Raphaelites and work of like Dante, Gabriele Rossetti, and all of the artists of the Pre-Raphaelite period. I just think their work is so romantic and captivating and haunting in a really beautiful way. My mum's an art teacher, so I studied the Pre-Raphaelites when I was younger, and I have a real connection to the art. And I wanted to have a deck like the Oracle deck. Was it Tarot by 7? It's a Pre-Raphaelite deck. But I never went for it because of the shipping, and also there were no keywords. One of the first people I started following on YouTube when I learnt about TarotTube was Cherry Enchantress, and I remember seeing she created a deck of her own, and I knew I liked it and I wanted it, but I thought maybe there was a deck that I could pick up that was similar, but then I sort of forgot about it. I really wanted to get the Victorian Romantic by Bubba Studios, but that was out of print, so I kind of forgot about the deck, to be honest. And then I recently saw it on Bonnie Old Soul Mermaid's channel, and she featured it, and I remembered how beautiful it was, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go for it because it looks exactly what I want and what I need. And so it is just a Printer Studio or a Make Playing Cards deck, and I will link it below, of course, with the others. There are these beautiful backs, and the art chosen by Cherry Enchantress, I'll link her YouTube channel below, is all different works of Pre-Raphaelite artwork, and they are just so stunning. And I think it works really well. I think this would just be such a beautiful romantic deck to use. And I wanted to do a walkthrough of this as well, but I've not got round to it yet. But I think this is just stunning. There are a few cards that do look a little bit pixelated, such as like this Justice card. looks a little bit pixelated, and there is no guidebook obviously, so I do need to go through and find out what the names are for all of the cards. But for instance, here is another one that is a little bit grainy. I think this is the kind of thing that you get when you order a deck with found art, but I still think it's really beautiful and really, really worth having. I think this is going to be really, really lovely for personal readings as well as like other romantic readings when I start working with clients. So for me, after I watched Bonnie's video, this was kind of a no-brainer, and I just sort of jumped for it. So I would like to do a walkthrough. If anyone would like to see it, do let me know. Yeah, I'm just really looking forward to getting stuck in with this and like using it, to be honest. It's a deck I really want to use a lot and play around with different love readings and such, and I think it's just going to be a very, very beautiful deck to work with. It might also be really nice to kind of compile a guidebook of sorts to go alongside each piece of artwork. In fact, I might get my mum to help me with that, because my mum being an art teacher, and she was a lecturer at the National Gallery in London for many, many years, and I think that having her help with something like that would be incredible. So I might do that actually, and I think this is a deck that she'd really appreciate as well. But it's just lovely to have as well, and so I will of course link Cherry Enchantress's channel below, and I will link Bonnie Old Soul Mermaid's walkthrough of this below as well for you to check out. This is just a stunning deck. I'm really glad to have it. Another deck I picked up recently is this Mages Only White Witch Tarot, and this is by Maya Deust. I think that's how you say it. Probably wrong. This, to be honest, I kind of forgot it was a Mages Only, and I was quite surprised at how cheap it was. But I had this on my radar for quite a long time, and I think at first I didn't think it was right for me. To be honest, the fact it's called White Witch Tarot kind of puts me off a little bit, because obviously that white-black kind of binary way of thinking and that terminology I don't think is always so positive, because it's got racial connotations and I just don't like it. But I actually think that it probably has a different meaning, its use here. Now the guidebook is quite sparse, there's not a whole lot of information in it, but the way it is put together, it is clear that this deck is more of a psychological kind of experimentation, and the art is almost channeled. So this is about psychodrama. So this kind of deck I think would be perfect for someone who's like a clinical psychologist or a drama therapist or an art therapist to use with clients. So it says here, the contents of this work arrived as a result of engaging the practice of techniques originated by Dr. Kelvin DeWolf in his self-developed system, The Paradigm of Power. These techniques involve ancient methods originated by his Native American tribe, the Micmacs, combined with Taoist Nei Gong traditions and his own personal experimental insights. They are meditative, concentrative, and perception-based methods to achieve amplified awareness of reality and access the subconscious. For each representative character and archetype in this deck, I use this meditation process to receive the information relayed in the archetypes of the cards through language and imagery. So this is really a unique deck, and actually when I started using this deck as a daily draw, because it had the Mages Only, I thought it was fantastic for a daily draw, because it just sort of summed up an energy for the day, and it actually was really potent. There are many, many decks as well I feel that I can use this with, almost like an oracle, but almost as well like a clarifier card, because it's a Mages Only. You know, a few years ago I was a bit stumped about how to work with Mages Only decks, whereas now I feel like I can work with them quite happily as their own sort of system. As you can see, the drawings are very visceral and raw, and they do seem to come from this sort of collective unconscious. The images all look very feral and animistic, and yeah, I think there's so much to delve into here. I think you can use these images to scry with as well, and to work with in a very kind of personal way. I think you could definitely embody some of the energies within this deck in a magical way. I think this deck has got so much potential, and it's not a deck I hear people talking about all that often, so I'm really, really glad to have this, and I want to try to work in different ways with this deck. It's kind of an experimental deck for me, and it was inexpensive. It's very beautiful, as you can see, and a different kind of deck to play around with, and so I was really, really pleased to welcome this into my collection. Next up is a deck I featured in my recent VR to Brian at Papa Squirrel, and it was one of my decks that I would replace straight away. It is the Starlight Illuminated Tarot by Cara Hertza. This is such a beautiful deck. I cannot get over this. Now, I said I was a Rider-Waite-Smith girl, and I am, and this is just, it's the epitome of the most beautiful kind of Rider-Waite-Smith clone that you could ever, not even clone, but Rider-Waite-Smith deck that you could ever imagine. And they're repainted by Carol and just so beautiful. I love the Starlight illumination and the quality of the deck. It's obviously independently printed, so it was quite expensive. I've not done my walkthrough yet, which is why it's all in order, but it is so stunning, and I've waited for this deck for almost a year. I've wanted it for so long. I'm so happy to have it, and I think this is going to become a real workhorse, because for me the Rider-Waite-Smith is a really special and important deck, and not just the original Rider-Waite-Smiths with Pixies art, but the reinterpretations of the deck as well, and the reproductions of the deck. So for me this is really special, and it's got a really special place in my heart already before I've even worked with it. So yeah, I'm so glad to have this. Next up is a deck that I've wanted for years, and I finally bit the bullet because I just couldn't wait anymore, and it is the Ancestral Path Tarot by Julie cuccia-watts. Julie has been doing some amazing videos with Amber at Lavender Moon about her newest deck, and she's got some amazing decks, and this is a deck that I've had on my list for so long, so I decided to pick it up. And my goodness, this is a large deck. Now, I haven't worked with this yet. I've had it out and I've looked at it a lot. I want to do a walkthrough and then I plan to work with it. But this is just so beautiful. I wanted to use this for sort of past life readings, but also connection to ancestors, of course, and also just because the art is so beautiful and it provides just a really rich tapestry of knowledge and understanding, and a beautiful collection of images based on different cultures and practices, and I just think it's stunning. So I was so excited to get this. I'm so excited to walk through with it and understand it more and start to use it. I absolutely adore this, but it's a really big deck. Look, this is my face, look. You see? I think I will have to shuffle it this way, but we'll see. But I'm very much loving this deck. I have several mermaid tarot decks and I have several mermaid oracles, but one mermaid tarot deck I did not have was the Tarot of Mermaids, and this is a Lo Scarabeo. So I decided to pick this up, and it's so pretty. I worked with this quite a bit actually, doing sort of week ahead readings. Maybe I'll edge it at some point. I think this is quite similar in a way to the Lisa Robertson Mermaid Tarot, except that feels a little bit more modern perhaps because of the size of the deck and the print quality, etc. This is a kind of typical Lo Scarabeo, but I just love the illustrations, and in a way I think this is even more watery, even more dreamy. This is even more Little Mermaidish, and it's just so beautiful and fantastical. I love working with watery decks so much, and this just feels very aligned for me. I mean, actually, is it just me? This feels like it has Thoth vibes as well, actually, that card. I just love this deck. So I've wanted this deck for a really long time, and I just decided to get it when I was shopping and treating myself. I really like this deck. I just think it aligns with me, the way that I read tarot, the visuals, and yeah, having a lot of mermaid decks already, there's definitely a vibe. But it works for me, and I think this is the kind of deck that I would like to read for others with as well. I can see myself reading quite easily for others with this deck. So I'm very happy to have this into my collection as well, and obviously mass market and inexpensive. Another mass market deck that I've had on my list for a long time is the Spiral Tarot, and this is a US Game Systems deck, and the illustrator Kay Steventon. I believe the Celestial Tarot that I have is illustrated by her as well, or made by her, or has the same illustrator. I'm not sure if she is the illustrator as well. Let's find out. Yes, I believe it is. And the Spiral Tarot deck is dedicated to my Celtic grandmother who used to read playing cards. So it is kind of a labour of love, I would say. I love the imagery, I love the illustrations of the Celestial Tarot, and I thought that this would have a lovely place in my collection. And I also saw this on Dawn Michelle's channel as well in one of her recent collection videos, and it reminded me that it was on my list and it was in my wish list on Amazon, and I decided to go for it. It's rather a strange size and shape of deck. It's very different, and I haven't worked with it yet, so I haven't delved into it and I don't know much about it yet. But also I kind of was put off by the borders and these titles. I don't think they really align. I think I might consider modding this, but I wouldn't want to get rid of the titles unless I got really comfortable with them, because obviously they're not exactly traditional. That's quite raunchy. I really do love the illustrations, and actually I think I probably could work it out actually. Some of the minors have the most beautiful depictions. So it is definitely a deck that I'm really excited to use. There's a little white book. It's not that comprehensive, but I think that reading this will probably help with understanding the deck. So I'm excited to try this out and use it. If anyone would like to see a walkthrough of this, do let me know as well below, and the same for any of the decks. Next up is a really special deck for me, and this is a deck that I didn't really know that I wanted up until really recently, and I saw it on Hazel Jane's tarot channel, and it is the Fairy Wicca tarot. Now I kind of just passed this off as not suitable for me because it was basically a Wicca based deck. Actually, watching Hazel Jane's video with this deck in it recently, I learned that this is about Irish mythology essentially, and that's what it depicts. On the back it says, bright as the sun rising from the mists of fairyland are the shining images of the Fairy Wicca tarot. Each symbol reflects the truth designed to make your life decisions wiser, your spiritual journey richer. The Fairy Wicca tarot blends mystical power of Irish mythology and the ancient Irish fairy tradition and modern fairy Wicca into a wondrous tool for inner transformation. So I really shouldn't have let the Wicca title kind of put me off. Not that it put me off, but I just thought I don't need that deck. But learning it's actually about Irish mythology, and there are depictions in here of Macca, there are depictions in here of the Morrigan, I just knew I needed this deck. So I looked on eBay and there were some going for over £100, and I was like, whoa, that's going to be really difficult to get. But I knew I needed it, and obviously I was meant to get it because a listing came up for it and there were bids starting at about £9. There was like a whole week left, and I was like, that's really gonna go up. But you know what, it really didn't. It was £11. So I put my bid in, and then there were about 4 other people watching it, and then someone bid again straight away, and I was like, right, okay, well I have to wait till the whole thing's over. So I waited till the last 10 minutes, put my bid in, and I was watching it and I had the countdown and everything, took it really seriously. And then within the minute someone bid again against me, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to play hardball here. So I waited until the last 40 seconds. It was about 39 seconds to go. I put in my bid, and then just as I'd done that, I bid higher again just in case. And 10 seconds to go, the person tried to outbid me, but didn't make it because I'd added in another bid. So I literally played hardball, and I got it. And I paid about £32 for it, and then shipping on top. So I think this was such a bargain. I was absolutely over the moon. I was actually shaking afterwards. It arrived, I went through it, and I was just beaming from ear to ear. I'm so thrilled about this deck. So it has a little book with information in it, no colour but just black and white, and lots of information by the looks of it. I've not delved into it. And the cards, I always go through when I get a secondhand deck, I always go through the cards and check all of the cards are there and that I understand what the system is. Now, the system, it is based on tarot obviously, but it's slightly different. Everything has been renamed in terms of the majors, and you've got obviously the Irish there as well, so that is going to be something to work with. I just realised I didn't actually put it back in order. You have also some bonus cards, and these are sort of sacred symbols, and this is one of them. So obviously it's going really deep into Irish mythology, and the suits are in the Irish, I believe. So this is something that I'm going to have to, you know, really work with in depth to understand. And here we go, Anne Morrigan. So this is the depiction of the Morrigan in the chariot, and it is just stunning. Oh my goodness, there's the Dagda. So this deck is going to be a real special deck for me, and I cannot wait to read the book. I'm going to read the book really soon. I'm going to put this in order, I think, maybe do a walkthrough and try and study it a bit and get used to it and learn more. I've read the lore that involves the Morrigan and some surrounding the Morrigan, but I haven't read all of the Irish lore at all, and I've forgotten details, I'm sure, so I need to go over it. But yeah, I think that I'll be able to pick this up and understand it. It's going to help deepen my connection and my understanding, my knowledge, and I think it's going to be a fantastic deck to work with the Celtic Wisdom Tarot and with my Morrigan decks. So I was so thrilled to get this, and I think it really was meant to be. I think it was just aligned. So yeah, I'm really happy I got this, and I think it is really worth it. There's a out of print deck that you really want that goes for a lot of money. I think just put your search into eBay and save your search, and then one day it'll come up, it will just happen and you'll get it, and it will just be dream come true. Finally, I have another deck and a couple of books, and they are all related. This is a deck I've wanted for a really long time, but it's not been readily available in the UK, and the shipping was expensive, etc., and I just never got around to it. It is playing card divination, but different, and I've seen a few creators talk about this deck but not that many. And the deck in question is the Playing Card Oracle by Anna Cortez, and this is based around her father's artwork, CJ Freeman. Essentially it's playing cards turned into an oracle deck. So it is a unique way to look at the playing card system. As you can see, this is the order it came in, so these are all the diamonds. And it comes with a little book. The images are incredible, and I can see how you could use it almost like a Lenormand, almost like a playing card deck. You've got these beautiful cards within, and the court cards are something really, really special, actually. This is one of the queens, the Queen of Hearts. These are really, really beautiful cards, but the reason I got this was because playing card divination is something that I am learning and fostering, and something that, for some reason, really resonates with me. When I was younger, I used to play cards a lot with my parents, and I remember we would play rummy a lot when we would go camping, and I remember feeling magic going through my fingers when I would play that game. That was a game. That was not divination, but I could feel the magic from the cards. And I used to play so many games, I'd make up games with card decks, and I would use them in a magical way sometimes. Not to do spells as such, but when I was little I would play with them in a magical way and think of them as tools to help me manifest certain things, like the hearts. Always really resonated with me, being a romantic spiritual soul. So I'm not saying that I did divination as a child with playing cards, but the playing cards really were very special for me. So learning different systems of playing card divination is something that really excites me now. And as an offshoot from learning the tarot and stuff, this is something that I really want to delve deeply into. And I have a couple of books on it I've not really cracked into properly. And so it is part of my plan that I am going to be doing that. Now with the deck, you get a tiny little white book that really doesn't go into very much detail at all. The book that accompanies this, you can buy this from her website, and you can also buy it from Amazon, but the paperback copy is very expensive and not readily available in the UK. I think you can probably get it on Amazon.com, but not in the UK. So understanding that the first book I couldn't get my hands on, the second book I could, which is this Oracle Alchemy, I decided to pick this up. This was about £18. And looking at this, this is more of musings and stories and things that will help you deepen your practice. Oracle Alchemy, the art of transformation in life and card reading. And so this is going to be a fantastic read for me, but I don't think I can really delve into this until I have actually read the first book. And then I suddenly realised, why don't you just get it on Kindle? So I did that. It was £7 on Kindle, so I got that. And I have an iPad, I have my phone, so I am slowly working through the book. I probably won't finish it anytime soon because, to be honest, I don't read a lot on my phone. It's not something I do. But I would like to maybe tie it to something, so when I'm doing something particular, like maybe whenever I go in the car and I'm a passenger, not a driver obviously, but whenever I'm a passenger in the car, maybe I'll sit and read my phone and I'll read that so that I actually finish it in a timely way. Because otherwise I can imagine I won't finish it, because I do like to read books and I make time for reading with books, but I don't tend to mindfully make time for reading on my phone or my iPad. So that's something I need to actually do in order to read and extract the knowledge. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm really, really excited to read that. And that is, again, I think that's just called the Playing Card Oracles, and the cover is like this. So I will of course link that book below, as well as this book. And finally, just another mention, watching Candy, Soul and Soil, I did see that she talked about the guidebook for the Barbara Walker Tarot, which is a deck I didn't actually realise there was another guidebook other than this little white book. So I'm really glad that Candy mentioned that, because the guidebook was like a couple of pounds, and again the paperback was hundreds. So I jumped on that and picked that up. So that's another one. I think I'll read Anna Cortez's book first because I'm more invested in working with that deck. But this is a deck I just fell in love with, and I remember thinking, I want to know more about this deck. And now having access to a fuller, richer guidebook is going to be so, so knowledgeable. So I realise there are so many decks here that are new. I realise I already have so many decks. There are so many decks I want to go deep with, but it is a continual, ever growing process. And I think at some point I'm going to have to give myself time to pause and go deeper with certain decks. But one thing I have discovered is that I can't do it all at once, and I have a thirst for knowledge, and reading is something I love doing. So I think that what I need to do is make a list of exactly what I want to learn and then prioritize it, literally list it. I recently did discover that actually learning the Thoth is more important to me at the moment than learning Lenormand. And learning Lenormand was higher up on my list at the beginning of the year, but now I've bumped it for Thoth because it's something I'm more driven to learn right now. And again, the playing card oracles was below Lenormand, and then that's bumped up as well. I'd say at the moment it's Thoth, playing card oracles, Lenormand. So yeah, things shifting, and I need to allow that to happen. But also I'm studying the Ogham and Celtic tree magic, and always learning and reading about tarot as I work with tarot in my daily practice. So there is so much to read, there is so much to learn, and it's an ever evolving, ever growing, ever developing process for me. It was one that will never ever end. It will just enrichen and get more special, more powerful. I think the more I learn, the more I love, and that's so special. This process gives me life, and going deep with things that excite me gives me life and energy and soul and purpose, and it's just incredible. I love it. So I know I've shared lots of decks today. I know it looks like I'm probably buying lots of decks, and I am, and I know there's this current kind of wave that's sort of sweeping the community around culling decks, and that is definitely something that, you know, I'm thinking mindfully about the decks that I'm picking up, but I am also still in a whirlwind of falling in love with different decks and appreciating decks and collecting decks, and that for me is okay at the moment. But I do think that there is going to be a point in time where I really just want to slow down and be in a bit of stillness and space. I am expecting a few more decks to arrive, and I can see myself slowing down in the latter half of the year. In all honesty, I can feel myself slowing down. There may be exceptions with Kickstarters and such, but I think that my energy is becoming a lot more focused. As I become more mindful about what it is I want to study as and when, I'm becoming more focused, and I'm enjoying that, because it's like I feel like I've almost built myself a path into a depth year, because I'm not in a depth year. I never was this year, and to be honest, I didn't even think it was possible. But I think what I've accumulated this year thus far has been so special, so profound, and it's opened doors for me, and it's been a really like intuitive kind of organic process. I feel like I need to put some parameters in place for when I'm ready to start a depth year. But I'm excited for that too, because I am pinpointing what it is that needs my focus and what I'm excited the most about. So yeah, this has been so much fun. I am so excited to delve into these decks and learn more, and I really hope that you've enjoyed seeing some of the decks I've picked up. If you liked the video, do give the video a thumbs up, share it with anyone who you think would enjoy it, and if you're new to the channel and you'd like to see more from me around tarot, witchcraft, magic, spirituality, then please do think about subscribing. And while you're subscribing, don't forget to hit that little bell notification, because that's how YouTube's going to let you know when I create and upload videos like this. Of course, if you want to leave me a comment, a question, any kind of experiences you want to share with any of these decks in the comments box below, please do. I'd love to hear from you and connect. And with all of that said, thank you again so much for joining me. I hope you stay well and safe, and I look forward to seeing you in another video really soon. Take care. Bye. Mwah.